The Caral-Supe civilization, also called Norte Chico, emerged in the Supe Valley of coastal Peru around 2600 BCE. This early complex society predates the well-known Andean cultures by more than a millennium, making it one of the world's oldest urban centers. Archaeologists have dated the principal ceremonial platform at Caral to roughly 2500 BCE using calibrated radiocarbon analysis. The scientific dating methods place the construction of this massive mound firmly within the early formative period of South America. Caral's urban core consists of 6 large platform mounds arranged around a series of sunken plazas. The spatial organization suggests coordinated planning and communal labor, reflecting a sophisticated level of social control. The tallest of these platforms, known as the Great North Platform, reaches a height of about 18 meters 60 feet. Its impressive scale indicates the ability to mobilize large workforces and to allocate resources for monumental architecture. Unlike later Andean societies, Caral shows no evidence of defensive walls or fortifications. The absence of protective structures implies that the community may have relied on social cohesion rather than militaristic deterrence. The inhabitants cultivated cotton Gossypium barbadense as a primary agricultural product. Cotton fibers were essential for weaving fishing nets, which in turn supported the civilization's heavy reliance on marine resources. Caral's diet was heavily weighted toward marine protein, especially anchovies, sardines, and shellfish. Stable isotope analysis of human remains confirms that up to 80% of dietary calories derive from oceanic sources. The civilization lacked pottery in its earliest phases, using baskets and gourds for storage and cooking. The reliance on perishable containers indicates that ceramic technology arrived later, after the initial urban development. Evidence of irrigation canals shows that Caral's farmers diverted river water to cultivate squash, beans, and other crops. These engineered waterways demonstrate an understanding of hydraulic management necessary for sustaining agriculture in an arid coastal environment. Caral's elite residences were situated on elevated platforms separate from commoner housing. The spatial segregation of dwellings reflects a hierarchical social structure with privileged access to resources and ceremonial spaces. Trade networks extended from Caral to the highlands of the Andes and to the Pacific coast of Ecuador. Exotic items such as spondylus shells and obsidian found at the site attest to long-distance exchange relationships. Spondylus shells, prized for their bright orange color, were imported from over 1,000 kilometers away, in present-day Ecuador. Their presence in elite burials suggests that shell ornaments functioned as status symbols and possibly as ritual objects. Gold beads and ornaments have been recovered from Caran burial contexts, indicating early metalworking. The use of native gold hammered into thin sheets shows that metallurgical knowledge existed before the rise of later Andean empires. Caral's builders aligned several platform mounds with the cardinal points, especially north-south. This orientation may have facilitated astronomical observations or symbolized cosmological concepts important to the community. A circular sunken plaza at the site measures roughly 30 meters in diameter and may have served as an early observatory. The plaza's geometry aligns with solstitial sunrise and sunset points, suggesting that the inhabitants tracked solar cycles for agricultural timing. The civilization's population is estimated to have been between 3,000 and 5,000 individuals at its peak. Demographic models based on housing density and food production capacity support this modest yet urbanized community size. Caral's construction required organized labor, likely coordinated by a central authority or council. The scale and uniformity of the platforms imply a command structure capable of directing workers over extended periods. No deciphered writing system has been found at Caral, but researchers have identified knot-based quipu-like artifacts. These core devices may have functioned as record-keeping tools, hinting at early forms of non-phonetic information storage. The site was first uncovered in modern times by Peruvian archaeologist Ruth Shady in 1994. Shady's extensive excavations and publications brought international attention to Caral's significance as a preceramic urban center. Caral was added to UNESCO's World Heritage tentative list in 2009. The nomination underscores the site's universal value and the need for ongoing preservation efforts. The civilization's economy combined maritime exploitation with cotton agriculture, creating a dual resource base. This mixed subsistence strategy allowed Caral to sustain a dense population while supporting elite craft production. Radiocarbon dates from charcoal in hearths show continuous occupation for at least 400 years. The long-term stability of the settlement suggests effective resource management and social resilience. The absence of large domesticated animals indicates that labor was primarily human and organized through communal projects. Without draft animals, the community relied on coordinated manpower, reflecting sophisticated social organization. Ceramic fragments begin to appear at Caral only after 1800 BCE, marking a technological transition. The late introduction of pottery aligns with broader regional trends towards sedentary lifestyles and food storage improvements. Caral's monumental architecture predates the Egyptian pyramids by several centuries. This chronological comparison highlights the independent emergence of large-scale construction in disparate world regions. The site includes a series of laboratory platforms that may have been used for food processing and textile production. Archaeobotanical residues on these structures indicate they hosted activities such as fish drying and cotton weaving. The El Paraíso complex located nearby shares architectural features with Caral, suggesting cultural interaction. Similar platform layouts and construction techniques point to a broader regional tradition of ceremonial building. Human burials at Caral are relatively few, and most lack elaborate grave goods. This scarcity may reflect egalitarian burial customs for the majority of the population, reserving wealth for specific elite interments. The civilization's decline appears to coincide with a regional climatic shift toward drier conditions around 1800 BCE. Paleoclimate records indicate reduced precipitation, which would have strained agricultural production and prompted abandonment. Some scholars propose that Caral functioned as a ritual center rather than a purely economic hub. The prominence of ceremonial platforms and limited evidence for extensive market activities support a religious or ideological emphasis. The site's construction utilized locally quarried limestone and river stones, requiring substantial quarrying effort. The procurement and transport of heavy stone blocks demonstrate advanced logistical planning and labor organization. The Caral people built a network of causeways linking major platforms, facilitating movement across the urban core. These paved pathways indicate intentional design for processional routes or efficient circulation of people and goods. Analysis of dental wear on skeletal remains reveals a diet rich in fish, corroborating isotopic data. Microscopic examination of tooth surfaces shows abrasion patterns consistent with consuming small, bony marine organisms. The civilization's art includes stylized motifs on gold beads, featuring spirals and hooked shapes. These decorative patterns may have held symbolic meaning, possibly representing water, fertility, or status. Caral's architects incorporated drainage channels into platform foundations to prevent water damage. The inclusion of such engineering solutions reflects an awareness of local hydrology and a desire to preserve structural integrity. The site's layout follows a roughly linear north-south orientation along the Supe River valley floor. Positioning the city parallel to the river maximized access to water resources while allowing expansion along fertile floodplains. Carbonized cotton fibers recovered from hearths indicate that cotton was processed and possibly woven on-site. The presence of burnt textile remnants confirms that the inhabitants transformed raw cotton into functional materials locally. The Caral-Supe culture was contemporaneous with the ancient Egyptian Old Kingdom, but developed independently. Parallel timelines illustrate that complex societies can arise in different continents without direct contact, driven by similar environmental pressures. Excavations have uncovered a series of small circular schist graves containing shell ornaments and polished stone beads. These modest interments suggest a secondary tier of elite individuals who possess some prestige but not the wealth of high-status burials. The civilization's lack of a writing system makes archaeological interpretation heavily reliant on material culture. Scholars must infer social, economic, and religious aspects from architecture, artifacts, and bioarchaeological data, rather than textual records. Caral's sunken plazas were likely filled with water during ceremonial events, creating reflective surfaces. Hydrological manipulation could have enhanced visual effects for rituals, emphasizing the symbolic importance of water. The site's preservation owes much to the arid coastal climate, which limits organic decay. Low humidity and minimal rainfall have helped retain structural stonework and delicate artifacts that might otherwise have deteriorated. Researchers have identified a series of copper alloy artifacts, although true copper smelting appears later in Andean history. These early metal items were likely made from native copper hammered into shape, predating complex alloy production. The Caral-Supe civilization practiced a form of communal feasting, as indicated by large quantities of fish bones in public plazas. The concentration of food remains in central spaces, suggests organized gatherings that reinforced social cohesion and shared identity. Stratigraphic studies reveal that platform construction occurred in distinct phases, each adding new layers to existing structures. This incremental building method mirrors modern architectural practices of renovation and expansion, reflecting long-term site use. The civilization's elite likely used cotton textiles as a form of wealth display, analogous to later Andean societies. Fine woven garments would have signified status and could have been exchanged for exotic goods within the trade network. Caral's planners incorporated astronomical alignments into the orientation of several platforms toward the horizon's solstice points. Such alignments would have enabled the community to mark seasonal changes crucial for agricultural and ritual calendars. The discovery of fossilized fish scales in construction mortar suggests that marine materials were mixed into building compounds. Incorporating organic binders may have improved mortar cohesion, demonstrating innovative use of locally available resources. The Caral-Supe culture's influence can be traced in later Andean urban centers that adopted platform construction and cotton economies. Successive societies inherited architectural motifs and economic strategies, indicating a cultural legacy that persisted for millennia. Modern Peruvian scholars view Caral as a foundational chapter in the nation's pre-Columbian heritage, emphasizing its role in early state formation. Contemporary research highlights Caral's significance for understanding how complex societies originated in the Americas, shaping national historical narratives.